name is Erica, and I'm with the Korean Life Design Center. Thank you again for joining us on the Journey Mappers podcast. Today, we have a special guest by the name of Ehlimana, and she's going to share a little bit about her journey as the president of SWEET, as well as her journey in her internship. Hi, Ehlimana. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Thank you.
All right. Well, my first question for you is, could you tell us a little bit about being the president of SWEET, and what does SWEET entail? What's its mission, and what makes it unique on campus?
So the Society of Women Engineers is a club that is kind of centered around building up women in the engineering space. We kind of are outnumbered by men every single day, and we want to make it so every female face you know is a familiar face, and it's always a safe person to come and talk to. We are both focused on social and the professional aspect, and being able to grow our network as women and being able to meet more professional companies, meet more people that are in the field and like the companies that surround us essentially. So that's kind of what SWE is going for. And then what makes us unique is that we are a very social club that isn't mandatory. There's no mandatory events. Nothing is you have to be there. It's all voluntary. If you want to be there, it's because you want to be there. And so with that, we have such great women that come every day to like any event we have, and they honestly make our events so much fun. We just come and talk, have fun. We do like silly events like bracelet making and mug decorating, and we still have that aspect of, we have our professional event where you can network and you can get a job. So it's multifaceted, and that's honestly, it makes us a very unique like club to have.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I'm just curious, do you have like other people outside of engineers that are in the student org, or is it specifically for women engineers?
So in our org, we kind of have every facet of the School of Engineering. We have, the mechanical engineers, electrical, computer, obviously. And we have a lot of people now, like recently, that have joined doing more cybersecurity stuff and IT stuff and like the computer side to it, which has honestly been really good to us. And honestly, we've kind of elaborated to the way we have now to our social events. We have men that are coming as well. It hasn't just been women. So it's honestly kind of growing as an organization as a whole.
I've noticed that. I think at the last event I most definitely seen some men there, as well as the fact that there were some people that were there that were curious from different majors. So I thought that was really interesting. And I could imagine like it's cool to have like those different I guess expertise as well as like insights from people of different majors that are also able to come into that community and learn from your community.
100%.
And you also learn from that community too. So that's like super awesome that you guys are now integrating that or experiencing that growth.
100%. And honestly, we have a lot of like underclassmen coming that are still undecided. So we kind of are like encouraging them like, hey, like making it feel a lot less scary as people that like, this is a scary major. I can't even like lie. This major is not the most like welcoming sounding. So it's like we're making people like these underclassmen who like come in scared, like, like, what can I do? We're like, here's a pathway. It won't be the end of the world. You won't like be miserable here. Trust me.
Yeah, could you tell me a little bit more about that? Like, so, like, what ways are you helping those new students get more involved, or what ways are you helping those students, like, explore and kind of get curious about their careers and know more about their careers and know more about themselves in the student org?
So with our org, we've kind of expanded, again, within this last year about making more social events. SWE before has been kind of more of a silent chapter. We haven't been very, very active. Now we have a lot of social events where students from all different facets of engineering are coming in, and all of my e-board, we're all different majors, essentially. So there's always someone to ask questions to. So people are kind of like, let's see, like, let me ask you about this. Out of my first events we had this year, I had a girl come up to me asking about bioengineering, because when I started out freshman year, I was a bioengineering major. So she was like, like, how was that? Why did you change? What was it that, like, made it kind of, like, hard for you? And then we have events, like our professional events with companies like Intiva, which is one of our like biggest like companies that we kind of work with. They kind of talk about what they do and all of that. And students can come up and talk to these employers right after. So there's always those open opportunities for questions with employers that you honestly wouldn't have if you weren't part of an org like this, like, which has kind of been really helpful for a lot of people. I've heard a lot of good reviews from like our members.
Yeah. No, and I would imagine it kind of like, especially for new students, it probably like helps break that bridge or
100%.
helps like like settle some of that anxiety that they might have like coming
Yes.
in, and they're just like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what to do, I don't know what to expect, how do I talk to employers, right? And
A
they're probably
hundred
getting that
percent.
firsthand experience through your org
Mhm.
by being able to talk to those employers as well, and by the time they do like look for internships, they already feel more confident. So
Yeah.
that's amazing.
And honestly, with career and life design, you guys do so many of things with building resumes and like your LinkedIn and your all that kind of information. SWE's kind of trying to piggyback off of that and try to, oh, here you guys go. Here's more resources. Here, you should always go to career and life design. We always kind of like direct people to you so we can all better ourselves. We don't want to have anyone set up for failure because, again, hard field. It's a hard field to get into, especially with like again engineering. So many people are going into it constantly. So why not kind of help everyone out with resume building and stuff like that?
I did notice that you guys have, I know you talked a lot about the employers coming on campus and the events that you do have on campus. Can you tell me a little bit more about the events that you do have where the students get to go off campus?
Yes. So we're doing a couple events like coming up soon, honestly, where we're going to tour some facilities where like employers they're specifically looking for SWE candidates. They want SWE. They want people to come in. They want women like in the space where we're gonna meet with orgs like the Lawrence Tech chapter and the Wayne State chapter with like General Dynamics through Career and Life Design. So SWE's gonna go specifically through that coming up on Tuesday, actually, coming up this week. So, which I mean, I don't know how it's coming out with the podcast, but but we have events where you can kind of see with the employers one-on-one. There's just usually smaller events. Career and Life Design has you guys' tours where a lot of people can come and it's very, very open. For us, it's a smaller group that's going. We're going to keep it within our organization so you get to connect with more of your like peers within just us, and then you get to connect with the employer like more personally. They get to see, oh, like this girl is really passionate about something. You aren't just a face, you are like they know your name now. They know your major, they know why you're passionate about what you're going into, which is something that like I'm really glad we have the opportunity to do.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And the fact that the employers know like who you are as an organization as well, like that helps like shape that kind of conversation that student might have going on campus as well. So
100%.
I think that is really great. Could you tell me like what are some of the skills that you do see like students get while being a part of the student organization, like soft skills, hard skills, like you name it?
I think we're trying to do more events through building more hard skills. We were in the works of building an event such as like a soldering event, something where, okay, these are like real world skills you would need going into the like working field. But soft skills would be more so communication, like being able to carry a conversation with somebody professionally, how to network properly. When we have our events in the atrium and the EC, there's a lot of people that come. I mean, there'll be like couple employers there, so you know like, oh, I know how to make eye contact with an employer. I know how to sell myself with an elevator pitch, or I know how to build my resume properly. It's honestly those kind of skills, those skills that you easily overlook, that SWE is helping build every single day with every single event we do.
Yeah, no, that's an underestimated skill that I think a lot of
100%.
I know for me personally, when I was in school, I was like, I just want to get through my classes. Like, that's all that matters. But then when it came to like actually being able to communicate with an employer,
Yes,
I most definitely feel like I lacked in that until like after graduating. So the fact that they're getting that skill early on, that's absolutely amazing.
we're trying to kind of build a network within women, because when we go into our classes, there's only so many of us. Like, I remember freshman year walking into my first entry level engineering class, 1,200, and it was a class of 200 kids. I looked around, of that maybe like less than a quarter were women, and I was like, okay, I know each and every girl here. So now when I have a social event at SWE, oh, I know you from my class, like from this class I had together. Oh, I know you from this other class. So it kind of like helps us build together, and eventually when we get into like, once we graduate, once we make it into the future, we're going to all have a good basis and a strong network of just strong, powerful women before we even get like far into like a career. So we always have someone to talk to like communicate with, and a connection to go to.
And like also like the fact that like some of you guys would have like that experience like yourself, right?
100%.
Like have that like knowledge of what it's like to actually be in the industry. And then then somebody that's a freshman could then like, could you tell me what it's like to, do what you do? Like, like, or can you tell me what that field is like? The fact that they have you now as like a reference, you know, to get that information, or, you know, other women in the class or other peers in the class that are going through the same thing. Like that most definitely have to be like refreshing for those other people that are going through that same experience.
There's so many facets to engineering. So I know like my vice president, she works in research right now. She's doing research work. I work in testing and validation. I know my secretary, she works in project management stuff. It's always, again, like I said before, another face to go to, another question you can ask. Like, oh, how does your job look like? What do you do? Especially for things like the career fair, like when they come up, it's, oh, I want to know exactly what I'm going into before I just kind of like blindly apply to things. I don't want to blindly apply for a job and then not like it towards the end, you know?
Yeah, that's the worst feeling.
100%.
It really is. I think a lot of us have been there. Like, you know, it took me like graduating, going into the workforce to realize, I don't know. And that's why I think I'm so passionate about what I do now, you know? So like, yeah, it is like a terrible feeling, and when you have those like people around you that's been through it, and they could be a resource to you before you actually dive full in.
Yes, 100%.
It's great. And I think that's why SWEET is such a great like opportunity or resource for, you know, for students, because it's like they get that firsthand experience of being able to connect with employers. They get that firsthand experience of being able to connect with their peers like yourself.
Yes.
They like get that firsthand experience of being able to go on campuses and like and see it all before they actually dive full in.
Before they commit to something they're not sure they want to commit to.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes, for sure. So I know you talked a little bit about your internship as a testing and validation engineer intern. Could you tell me a little bit more about like some of the skills that you feel that you've gained since you've started that internship?
Honestly, this internship has taught me not to. It was more so of a way of question everything. That was the first thing the guy I work under has told me, and that is something that I'm going to carry with me forever, because I'm a mechanical engineering major. My test lab, they put me working in an electrical lab immediately. I have hardly touched any mechanical work. They put me in electrical. I didn't really know it. I didn't know it well, but I was kind of told, like, nobody knows anything. Nobody knows what they're doing. We're all kind of just winging it. So I kind of, like, learned how to do basic wiring. I learned how to solder. I learned a lot of just, like, these little, like these hard skills that I didn't think I would ever touch or look at. But now that I'm, like, an engineering student, I'm like, oh, I'm working in this test lab. I'm like, oh, this is, like, cool. Like, I like this. This is, like, a new facet. And then, like, him telling me, oh, yeah, like, question everybody, no one really knows, made me realize even these high-up engineers, these, like, mechanical engineers, they're guessing at times. So if you question them, you ask them what's going on, you'll learn more yourself, and you'll look a lot smarter just asking the question. So I kind of, like, it's a like good mindset to me now. Like, oh, we're all in the same boat. We're all just as confused.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like really helpful as an internship for me.
Yeah, especially like with how like engineering or just like, you know, technology in general is just ever evolving. Like I would imagine like it's like even if you've been in the field for 20 years, it's like you still like are learning new things over time. So
100%. And some of these people that I know, they don't even have degrees, but they're some of the smartest people I know. And it's just everything that you do in life is just hard work and dedication. Making learning a hobby, making what you learn and what you do something you're passionate about will take you so much farther than just that piece of paper will. If you don't have the dedication to like learn further and you just sit stagnant with the degree and the paper, you won't get nearly as far as someone who's constantly learning new skills that, again, for me, I'm learning electrical skills. Is it really like specifically relevant to my degree? Technically, no. But I'm learning something like that's going to look real good on a resume later. Mm-hmm. Like it'll be real helpful later on in life.
So would you say that it piqued your interest?
100%. And
it like got you more curious maybe?
100%. It's gotten me into stuff where, because when I started, they were everyone questioned me like, hey, why mechanical? Why was mechanical your choice? Why mechanical? And I was just like, it was a good basis of a degree. If I go into my master's program later, it's a good start. I don't know what I want to do. I wasn't really sure. And now working in electrical and stuff like that, it's kind of made me decide that, like, oh, maybe I want to go do robotics later. Maybe I want to go get that master's in electrical. Or maybe even, like, I'm debating on adding a minor in electrical now. Just because it's like, oh, again, more skills to have. It's, like, prettier things, like, nice stuff. And I learned that I want to work hands-on. It was not something that I thought of before, but working in a test lab, it's all hands-on work. And that was something that I was like, wow, this internship's really taught me.
Do you feel like being a part of SWE has like helped prepare you for your internship?
100%. I feel like if it wasn't for SWE, I wouldn't have been able to get my internship. Even though Webasto wasn't a company that has come to like Oakland before, or it isn't something that SWE is directly affiliated with, SWE has kind of helped me build up confidence in the way I speak and the way I carry myself with people. So I feel like when I was in the interview process last year around February, I was able to explain myself very, very thoroughly. I was able to hold myself to a like higher standard, and I kind of like knew what I was talking about. I wasn't like confused. I wasn't lost. And talking to like the former president, Janelle, like that's when I was my freshman year. She was the president. She kind of made SWE. She sold SWE very, very well to me, and she honestly inspired me to like learn so much about stuff like this, and it helped me get into my internship 100%. Without these social skills, I don't know how far I'd be able to make it in a field like engineering, where you have to like talk constantly with somebody.
Yeah. No, and one thing I've noticed about like a lot of student orgs, specifically like SWE, is that even after you guys graduate, like you guys go on to do like really great things.
100%.
So it's like, just kind of seeing that, I think could be like really inspirational for like students, like just seeing like, okay, this was the previous president, this is what they're doing now,
Yes.
So that's always like awesome. I'm glad that you mentioned Janelle.
100%. My freshman year, so it was my Composition 2 class I took, and my paper, they do write it on a community. I chose women in engineering, and for that paper, you have to interview people, and the person I chose to interview was Janelle. So her responses were so well thought out. It was something she was very, very passionate in what she did. She understood she knew where her head was at. She was a very solid president, and she knew SWE meant a lot to her, and it helped her get to her career. And I was like, I look at her and I was like, okay, I want to be like her.
Yeah.
And now here I am as president, and I'm like, oh, like.
Yeah, and I bet you there's going to be a new incoming student that's going to be like, I want to be like her. So
hopefully that
then
comes
it just
up.
like kind of like trickles down and passed down
100%.
over the years. So.
It's just something that was so crazy to me. Like, again, interviewing the president of SWE, 3 years ago, and now it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that is where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I was never expecting to be here, and I'm just so grateful for it, truly.
Yeah. Well, okay. My last two questions for you then would be like, what kind of advice, now that we're talking about like incoming students or people that are now just trying to like figure it out, right? Figure their careers out.
Yes.
What advice would you give them moving forward?
Moving forward, I would definitely say what you come in as is not what you are. You're not defined by what you put on the paper the day one. I put undecided. I put biomedical engineering. I put everything on that paper before I made it to mechanical. You know what you love. You'll see your passions through these classes. Don't stay stagnant just because I don't want to change. I'm scared of change. Change is always going to be good. Change is always going to help you. Don't overthink it. And also, your advisor is a great person. Always talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of meetings I've had with Kelly and my engineering advisor is astronomical. They're such helpful people, even though people like, oh, like you don't have to. Always go to them. They know better than you do, truly. But yeah, honestly, biggest advice, don't stay stagnant. Always try to grow, try to better yourself, and do what you love. If you don't do what you love, you'll hate your career later on.
Yeah.
It's not about the money. It's not about the status of I have an engineer in my paper. It's about, okay, I want to do this. I want to help my community out. Mm-hmm. So, and that's my biggest thing. It's a good way to help people without being in medical or being like, it's always a way to kind of grow with the community, help the community for sure.
What kind of resources would you recommend? Would you recommend that they check out certain books, or like, would you recommend that they utilize like LinkedIn to start like connecting with people in their field? What kind of resources would you recommend for these new incoming students?
My biggest resource that's gotten me to where I'm at was LinkedIn. Honestly, LinkedIn has been great for me. This last semester, I was connecting with literally anybody in the area. I've had one-on-one calls with GM engineers. I've had calls with like people from Ford, and it's just like, okay, request to like meet with them, and then you just send them a cold message being like, hey, I want to be where you're at. How do I get there? And then they'll more often than not offer to call. You have a good conversation with them, and you honestly just get some great advice. And I've honestly met some amazing people through that. And I've built a good network, and I have people that now I can always go to and ask for help. And again, Career and Life Design and Handshake has tremendously helped me. I've gone to events where I've now built connections with people at Magna. I've built connections with a lot of people from companies like Aptiv or American Axle. If it wasn't for career and life design, I don't know if I would be able to make those same connections, truly, honestly. It's been a great resource.
Well, talking about LinkedIn, is it okay if some of the students that are listening could connect with you on LinkedIn?
Connect with me on LinkedIn, Ehlimana Campara. I'm there. I post my SWE stuff. All my SWE stuff gets reposted there. And then all my school projects, all the schoolwork I do, I'm always posting. Follow me on LinkedIn for sure.
Awesome. All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
you guys heard her. Most definitely add her on LinkedIn if you're interested in learning more about her journey. But as usual, it was a pleasure connecting with you guys with the Journey Mappers, and see you next time.